Mhm. Good afternoon, everybody. We are back. We are Ramp the podcast. We are talking about everything accessibility, but do we have a fantastic show for you today? As you all know, that the United States Access Board is going to be visiting Rhode Island May 4th through 8th. So I brought some amazing friends with me today. So I can't wait for them to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about what this visit means to Rhode Island. So let me bring them all to the stage. Hi, guys. How's everybody doing?
Doing great.
Doing
Thanks for
great.
having us.
Let's go around and let everybody know who you are and what you do. Sachin, let's start with you.
Hey Tina, hey everyone. Thank you for this opportunity, Tina. I'm Sachin Pavithran. I am the Executive Director of the U.S. Access Board.
Hi,
Amy.
everyone. I'm Amy Nieves. I'm a Public Affairs Specialist here at the United States Access Board.
Great. Hey, everyone. My name is David O'Keefe. I'm the Events and Communications Specialist here at the Access Board, and we really appreciate you having us on, Tina.
Oh, I am so excited about this. Sachin, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who the Access Board is and why this is, going on?
Sure. So, often when we go to these visits, one question always comes up is, we've never heard about you, the U.S. Access Board. What do you guys do? So we are a very small independent federal agency directly under the White House. We've been in existence for a little 50 years now. Our primary responsibility is to work with the public, the federal agencies, everyone to make sure there is accessibility standards and guides for people with disabilities to enjoy the environment that we live in and to have access to the environment that we live in. We work on regulations to ensure accessibility in the built environment. So that's your buildings, your public right of way, which is your streets, sidewalks, pedestrian signals, bus stops, passenger vessels, so anything transit, so passenger vessels, buses, trains. We also work on accessibility standards for information communication technology. That's your websites, making sure all information that you receive from from the federal government is accessible. So we write the accessibility standards. We don't necessarily enforce all of the standards we write. Our sister agencies such as Department of Justice, Department of Transportation, Health and Human Services, several of them who have the authority to do the enforcement of the regulations that we write. But we do have an enforcement authority on making sure that all federal spaces, that's any federal buildings owned by the federal government or leased by the federal government, such as your post offices that you find in your community, your national parks, your social security offices, those are accessible, physically accessible for people with disability. So we do have that authority to make sure if there's a violation of accessibility, individuals can reach out to us, file a complaint, and we will work with that federal entity to make sure that accessibility barriers are removed. So that's who we are. We do a lot of work with the public at large because regulation is not useful if we don't have the input of the public and the industry, those who directly are impacted by the regulations we write. So there's a lot of spaces for the public at large to work with us to make sure your voice is heard, and then also it's informing our final regulations. So that's why we go to the different communities, which you'll be hearing about our trip coming up to Rhode Island, why it's important for us to make these trips so that we learn from the communities that we are trying to ensure accessibility barriers are removed.
That's great. Could you tell everybody a little bit about who is on the Access Board? Like, who makes up the Access Board?
Sure. So we do have, about 30, slightly under 30 full-time staff, federal employees, but we do have a governing board that's a 25-member board. It's broken into two categories. There's 13 public members and 12 federal members. One of our 13 public members is Tina, who is proudly representing us from Rhode Island and who has done a remarkable work in ensuring that our visit to Rhode Island is fruitful and we will learn all that we need to learn from Rhode Island. So we do have 13 public members appointed by the president, and the other 12 federal members are from 12 federal agencies that we work closely with in our regulatory work and enforcement of our regulations. So Department of Justice. So these are senior level, high-ranking politicals from those federal department, assistant secretary and higher. So Department of Justice, Department of Transportation, Health and Human Services, Department of Defense, Commerce, Housing and Urban Development, USPS. So 12 different federal agencies that play a direct role either in enforcement or making sure our regulation is finalized.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And as you all know, that we're bringing the board to Rhode Island. I love my state. I cannot wait to show off my state to everybody. Amy, tell everybody how this came about of you guys coming to Rhode Island and what this means for Rhode Island and the board.
Absolutely. So again, we're so excited to be heading to Rhode Island for our next out-of-town board meeting and hosting a town hall. There's a lot of intentionality and logistics that go into planning these visits that start several years beforehand. So back about 2 years ago, the board was considering where to go for 2026. And at that time, Tina was on the board, and we really take our board's input and their own lived experiences into consideration when we're selecting a region, because they are the people that are living out in these communities across the nation. And so what's going well, or maybe where some gaps are around accessibility in different regions, we might not be aware of, but our board members are, because they are active, engaged members of those communities. And so Tina was one of the board members that had suggested, Rhode Island is very small. And I still remember you talking about how you can be anywhere in the state in under an hour or about an hour. And yet accessibility has come a long way. And yet there's still a lot of work to do in this region. And particularly being a coastal state, there's a lot of specific things to Rhode Island that the board hasn't really explored as in depth as, say, particularly transportation vehicles, or when we have worked on transit and also the public rights of way. What really was coming up was beach access, outdoor recreational spaces, trails, and so forth. And while we have some guidance for that in the Architectural Barriers Act, there's a lot to still be learned and discovered in those spaces. So this is an opportunity not just for us to hear from the community at large in Rhode Island and in New England. So even if you're not in Rhode Island, but if you are a New Englander and you're going to be in the area, we definitely want to engage with you and hear from you at our town hall. We'll talk more about those details as we go on, but I definitely see it as an opportunity for also the board to learn and engage with the public at large, so that we are more aware, because what is going great in Rhode Island might not necessarily work in a different community, and what's working in a different community really well and successfully might not work in Rhode Island because of the geography, because of funding, or whatever that might be. So it's really a great opportunity for the board and staff for us to be able to engage with the public, hear their voices, take that back with us to DC so that it informs our decision making and our rulemaking and guidance development. And also where maybe some of our resources could use a refresh, or where we need to be a little clearer of what we intended around a particular guideline when we see where there might be a gap of understanding in the public. So it's a great opportunity for us to learn and also be of service to the community. That's what we're here for, to serve the American public in the disability community at large. And I have to say, as a former city leader, I had the privilege of hosting the Access Board in my hometown of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, many years ago. And I can tell you, as a resident and as a former city leader, it was incredible, the impact that it had on our state of accessibility, for us to have a platform with the federal government to share both our innovations and where we were excelling, but also where we needed more support from our federal partners in DC. And it also allowed us to engage our elected officials. And that's what we hope to see. And we're seeing already in Rhode Island, you have very engaged elected officials that are willing and making themselves available to us while we were there. But who we really want to hear from are the residents of Rhode Island. We want to hear from you. What's your experience with accessibility? Are you able to access all parts of public life, or are there some barriers? And what are they, so that we might be able to help and assist you with that? And one of my favorite parts of my job of supporting these town halls is that after we come back to DC and we've met with different folks throughout that week, because it's not just one day, we'll be there for a whole week, meeting and engaging and observing and, putting ourself out in the community to understand what it's like to get around Rhode Island as a large group of varying disabilities. And I love being able to, when we come back, I compile all of that. I take all of the public comments that we receive and I produce a report to give back to the community that we visited, because your voices belong to your community. And we hope that it will help continue to support you in your efforts to promote accessibility in your community and beyond.
Yeah, we are so excited. And one of the things that I like that you say when we talk to a lot of people is it's not a got you moment. You're not here trying to catch us. You're not trying here to find us or anything. You're here to learn. Some things you can learn from us, some things you can help us, some things you can do trainings with us, you can guide us. And they're real conversations, the good, the bad, the ugly, in a respectful way. They're real conversations to make a difference. David, you got to be with us for the pre-visit out in September. Tell everybody a little bit about your experience, and then how can they be part of the town hall?
Well, we had a wonderful experience when we were here. The three of us and one of our colleagues joined Tina in Rhode Island back in September, and we really had a great time exploring the state. We really went from top to bottom, left to right, met with all sorts of officials and members of the community to learn a lot about the state of accessibility in Rhode Island. And that's how we want to engage you when we come back next month, is to learn more from the community members about the state of accessibility and your own personal experiences. Now, one of the main ways we want to do that is through our town hall meeting that Amy mentioned. And this year, our town hall meeting is going to take place on May 5th, which is a Tuesday, from 1 to 3 o'clock p.m. at Bally's Event Center in Lincoln, Rhode Island. And what this town hall is it's a 2-hour session where we'll give some brief remarks, but the majority of the session will be dedicated to public comments. So members of the public, elected officials, community members, and so on can register to give some sort of public remark regarding their experiences with accessibility in the state. Now, if you'd like to register to do that, we encourage you to do so in advance by emailing events@access-board.gov, and just tell us your name, your organization, if applicable, and if you'd like to deliver a public comment or not. Now, for those who are joining us in person, that is the only way we'll be able to give comments, but we will also be live streaming the event if you're not able to join us. We also want to mention that if you're not able to register in advance, you can sign up to deliver comments at the door when you come to the event on the day of, but we can't guarantee a spot because it will be based on time. So we highly encourage you, if you'd like to give a public comment to the board, please register in advance.
And we look forward to everybody being there. And if you really can't be there for the events portion, you can always email your comment to the board at events@access-board.gov. So if there's a comment that you want to make sure that they know, and for some reason you just can't enjoy life and be with us that day, make sure you email your comment to them, because the more comments that we get, the more input that we get from our community will be important. And then after the town hall, we're asking you all to stay for the very first Rhode Island Accessibility Summit, where that's the time that you're going to get to meet and greet and network, and they're off the clock. They're going to get to be there to have fun and enjoy and really see Rhode Islanders at a fully accessible event for everybody. And we can't wait for you to come. That is an Eventbrite link. It is in the saying of this up top. So both of the ways to enjoy is up there. But Sachin, tell everybody a little bit about your experience when you came to Rhode Island.
So I've never been to Rhode Island for a very, very long time, and it was amazing to kind of see it through Tina's lens, who knows the state and also kind of help us understand the barriers that exist and the things that has been working. So it's amazing the respect that obviously Tina has in the community, but also the interest that elected officials are taking in accessibility. Now, accessibility barriers exist all across our country. I can't say one state is perfect in any means. So there are pieces in Rhode Island that I think we can take back to other communities that we visit, but also inform the regulations that we work on in the future. Rhode Island being a coastal state, that's a lot to learn from. How do people with disabilities, access those kind of communities? Are there solutions that Rhode Islanders have come with in making sure that people with disabilities can access the coast? So it's been a great experience so far on the September trip that we've had, but having this extended conversation when the whole board is coming is going to be more useful for me to learn, and also for my staff at large who's coming to learn.
We're so excited. We have a fun packed week for you guys all when you get here. They're going to be visiting the soccer stadium, the Veterans Home, the Coast Guard House to, really see what the ocean and trail access is all about. They'll be talking to our tribal communities and get that conversation. They'll be talking to city leaders about city projects, street projects, historical projects. They'll get to talk about. They'll do some hands-on drumming and learn all about the 250 anniversary of Rhode Island and experience Rhode Island. And then we'll talk about arts, culture, and tourism, because that's deeply seated in Rhode Island, is our arts, culture, and tourism here. So they'll get to have that conversation as well. There's just so much going on for all of you to enjoy, and we're excited. But Amy, you tell a story about when you in Philadelphia, and then to see before you left office how much the impact that the board had. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I think I speak for a lot of disability advocates as a disabled woman myself, is that often we know what the barriers are that we experience in our everyday lived experience. But sometimes it can be difficult to find the receipts to those arguments when talking to elected officials and people who are in charge of the budgeting and the priorities that are in administrations across our great nation. And so I think that having the board come and the fact of how our board is comprised of 12, it's not just one small independent federal agency. It's actually a visit that includes 13 federal agencies. The Access Board and our 12 federal partners, high-ranking officials, are engaged with that process. Even if they're not able to physically be with us on the out-of-town visits, their staffers might come. They might follow up with us. There's a lot of ways in which our board members engage at, before, and after these visits. And that in turn translates to higher engagement with your local and state officials. And we're seeing that come to fruition in Rhode Island. And since joining the board a few years ago, I've seen that in each city that we have visited since then, is that when the board is preparing to come, it's as though the disability community is able to say, now is the time to really listen to us. And sometimes officials listen really well and are super engaged. Other times they need a little additional education and support to do that. And that's what we're here for. We're here to bring the board together to support that local community, to bring the receipts to their own arguments. We are the agency that writes these technical standards and guidelines. So if there's places where there needs to be some clarity on those guidelines, we're bringing the subject matter experts, people that literally are staff that wrote some of these technical documents, will be on hand. So if there's a question about how high a light switch should be from the floor, that technical expert from our team is going to be with us to answer those questions in real time. And that translates into action in the local community. And I think that's what we saw in Philadelphia. And we continue to see that trend happen at each of these out-of-town visits. where I help. My vision as the public affairs specialist is that one day, cities and towns will be hearing about these visits and this transformation that happens to bring the community and local and state governments together to solve accessibility problems in their community that benefit everyone. Is that we'll have cities and states say, please come visit us next, instead of us doing our research and looking at it from our perspective. I really do, as a former city leader, see it as incredibly valuable for the Rhode Island community for us to be coming. We can't wait to be there and to be with you in community and to hear what's going well, where is the innovations, where is the support coming from, who are the innovators and the leaders in this space, and then where could some technical assistance, guidance, or resources from the Access Board help close some of those gaps where it might not be working as well as it should be. And so I think that's why we all do the work that we do. And we get it that we live in times that can be uncertain at times, but the work continues and we are here to do that work. So we cannot wait for Rhode Island.
This is so important. And like you said, I love to engage the disability community. Like, this is a chance for a whole week that the disability community can know that everyone in Rhode Island is spotlighting the disability community, wherever we're going to be that week, wherever elected official is going to be there that week, whatever local community leader that's doing something. This is a whole week of celebrating accessibility and disability, and to be seen, heard, and valued. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and this is something that we shouldn't squander or waste. David, tell everybody again how to register for the town hall.
Sure, absolutely. So again, the best thing to do is to register in advance so we can guarantee if you do want to make a comment that we'll have room for you. So go ahead and send an email to our events inbox, which is events@access-board.gov. And just tell us your name, your organization, if you're going to be representing an organization, and whether or not you'd like to make a public comment. Send that to us. We'll make sure you're registered and on the list for the town hall. And again, if you are not able to register in advance, you can register at the door on the day of. We just can't quite guarantee we'll have room for you. It will be based on time, but we will try to get to absolutely every single comment that we can.
And we are so excited. Rhode Island is energized for you to be here. Did we miss anything? Did any of you have any more comments to say? Or, I don't know what else to say. I think we covered it, but anybody else?
We got it all.
Yeah, we're good. I'm so excited. Thank you all for taking the time today to tell everybody a little bit more and explain how important this is for Rhode Islanders to get involved. So the special week is May 4th through 8th, but the big day is Cinco de Mayo. May 5th, 1 to 3 is the town hall. 4 to 7 is the Rhode Island Accessibility Summit. Engage. I'm telling you, if you're not here at the party, number one, you're missing out on some fantastic people. And number two, you're missing your opportunity to have your voice heard, to meet and greet some amazing people, and to really be part of the change, because this is going to ignite Rhode Island to do so much more. We've already lit the fire. Now we just need to, fuel the flame. And that's what we're going to do right here in Rhode Island. We are the state of water fire. So, we are so good at fueling that flame. So thank you all so much for being here today. I look forward to seeing you in Rhode Island. And everyone, stay tuned. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.